Officer Rodriguez had been patrolling the quiet stretch of Highway 45 for nearly 6 hours that Tuesday evening. The sun was setting behind the hills, casting long shadows across the empty road. It had been one of those slow nights where nothing much happened. A few speeding tickets, a broken taillight, and that was about it. That's when he noticed the blue sedan ahead of him. Something wasn't right. The car was moving way too slowly, maybe 30 miles per hour in a 55 zone. It kept drifting slightly to the left, then jerking back to the right. At first, Rodriguez thought it might be someone texting while driving, or maybe someone who'd had a few drinks. He followed the car for about a mile, watching its erratic movement. The vehicle would slow down even more, then speed up suddenly like whoever was driving couldn't make up their mind. Rodriguez had seen this pattern before with nervous teenage drivers or elderly people who were losing their confidence behind the wheel. He flicked on his emergency lights. The red and blue beams cut through the growing darkness. The sedan didn't pull over right away. Instead, it continued for another quarter mile before slowly coming to a stop on the shoulder. That delay made Rodriguez even more suspicious. Most people pulled over immediately when they saw police lights. Rodriguez parked his patrol car about 20 feet behind the sedan and ran the license plate through his system. The car belonged to a woman named Lisa Chen, 32 years old. Clean record. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the cool evening air. As he walked toward the driver's side, Rodriguez noticed something odd. The seat seemed to be pushed all the way forward, like someone much shorter than average was driving. The car's engine was still running, and he could hear what sounded like crying coming from inside. Rodriguez approached the window carefully, as he'd been trained to do. You never knew what situation you might walk into. He tapped gently on the glass with his knuckle and motioned for the driver to roll down the window. What he saw next made his heart stop. Behind the wheel sat a young boy, probably no older than 11 or 12. The kid's feet could barely reach the pedals. His small hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. Tears were streaming down his face, and his whole body was shaking. Rodriguez blinked hard, thinking maybe his eyes were playing tricks on him. But no, there was definitely a child driving this car. And the crying he'd heard wasn't coming from the front seat. It was coming from the back. The boy slowly rolled down the window, his movements careful and scared. His eyes were red from crying, and he looked absolutely terrified. Rodriguez could see that the kid was trying to be brave, but fear was written all over his face. "Please don't arrest me, officer," the boy whispered, his voice barely audible. "I know I'm not supposed to drive, but I didn't know what else to do." Rodriguez looked past the boy into the back seat, and his stomach dropped. There was a baby, carrier strapped in, and inside it was an infant who couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 months old. The baby was crying loudly, a desperate sound that made Rodriguez's parental instincts kick in immediately. "Son, what's your name?" Rodriguez asked, trying to keep his voice calm and gentle. He didn't want to scare the boy any more than he already was. "Tommy," the boy replied, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. "Tommy Chen. This is my baby sister, Lily. She's really sick and I don't know what to do." Rodriguez immediately radioed for backup and an ambulance. His hands were shaking as he spoke into his radio. In 15 years of police work, he'd never encountered anything like this. Kids didn't just steal cars and go for joyrides with babies in the back seat. Something serious was happening here. "Tommy, I need you to tell me what's going on," Rodriguez said, crouching down so he was at eye level with the boy. "Where are your parents?" The boy's tears started flowing harder. "My mom collapsed at home about 3 hours ago. She won't wake up. I tried shaking her and calling her name, but she just lies there. Lily has been crying all day and she feels really hot. I didn't know who to call or what to do." Rodriguez felt his chest tighten. This wasn't a case of a kid taking a joyride. This was a desperate situation where a child had made an impossible decision to try to save his family. "How did you know how to drive, Tommy?" Rodriguez asked. "I've watched my mom drive lots of times. She's been teaching me little things like how to adjust the mirrors and where the gas pedal is. She said maybe when I turned 13, she'd let me practice in empty parking lots." Tommy's voice was getting steadier as he talked, like he was relieved to finally tell someone what had happened. Rodriguez looked at the boy with a mixture of amazement and concern. Tommy had somehow managed to start the car, figure out how to put it in drive, and navigate several miles of road to try to get help for his sister. It was incredibly dangerous, but also incredibly brave. The sound of sirens in the distance meant help was coming. Rodriguez knew he needed to get more information quickly so the paramedics would know what they were dealing with when they arrived. The ambulance pulled up just as Rodriguez was trying to calm both Tommy and the baby. The red and white vehicle came to a stop in front of the sedan, its emergency lights painting the dark road in bright flashes. Two paramedics jumped out, grabbing their medical bags. Rodriguez quickly filled them in on the situation, while Tommy watched anxiously from the driver's seat. The lead paramedic, a woman in her 40s with graying hair, immediately went to check on the baby while her partner started asking Tommy questions. "When did your sister start acting sick?" the paramedic asked Tommy in a gentle voice. 3 days ago, Tommy replied, his voice shaky but clear. She started crying more than usual and she felt really warm. Mom tried giving her medicine, but it didn't help. Yesterday, Lily barely ate anything, and today she wouldn't stop crying. The paramedic carefully lifted the baby from her car seat. Even Rodriguez could see that something was seriously wrong. The infant's face was flushed red, and her crying had a desperate quality that was different from normal baby fussiness. "She's burning up," the paramedic said to her partner. "Probably close to 104 degrees. We need to get her to the hospital right away." Tommy's eyes went wide with fear. "Is she going to be okay? I tried to help her, but I didn't know what to do." Mom always knew how to make her feel better. Rodriguez put a reassuring hand on Tommy's shoulder. "You did exactly the right thing, son. You got help when your sister needed it most." Meanwhile, Rodriguez's backup had arrived to check on Tommy's mother at their home address. The radio crackled, with updates. Officer Johnson's voice came through clearly. "We found the mother unconscious in the living room. She's breathing but unresponsive. Paramedics are working on her now." Tommy heard the radio, and his face went pale. "Is my mom going to die?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "The paramedics are taking good care of her," Rodriguez assured him. "Just like they're taking care of your sister. You did an amazing job getting help for both of them." The paramedic working with the baby looked up at Rodriguez. "We need to transport immediately. This baby is seriously dehydrated and her fever is dangerous. Can someone ride with the boy to the hospital?" Rodriguez nodded. "I'll follow in my patrol car with Tommy." As the paramedics loaded the baby into the ambulance, Rodriguez helped Tommy out of the driver's seat. The boy's legs were shaking so badly he could barely stand. Rodriguez realized that Tommy had been running on pure adrenaline and determination for hours, and now that help had arrived, his body was finally giving in to exhaustion. "Officer Rodriguez," Tommy said as they walked toward the patrol car, "I know I broke the law by driving. Are you going to put me in jail?" Rodriguez stopped, walking, and knelt down in front of Tommy. "Son, what you did tonight was incredibly brave. Yes, children aren't supposed to drive cars, but you were trying to save your sister's life. Nobody's going to jail tonight except maybe to get some medical help." The ride to the hospital took 20 minutes, with Rodriguez following closely behind the ambulance. Tommy sat quietly in the passenger seat, occasionally wiping tears from his eyes. Rodriguez could tell the boy was trying to be strong, but the weight of everything that had happened was starting to hit him. "Tommy, can you tell me more about what happened today?" Rodriguez asked, trying to keep the boy talking so he wouldn't retreat into his own worried thoughts. "Mom had to work extra shifts this week because we needed money for rent," Tommy began. "She's been really tired lately. This morning she seemed okay, but Lily was crying a lot. Mom kept checking her temperature and giving her medicine, but nothing worked." Tommy paused to look out the window at the ambulance ahead of them. Around lunchtime, Mom started feeling dizzy. She sat down on the couch to rest, and that's when she just fell over. "I thought maybe she was just really tired, but when I couldn't wake her up, I got scared." Rodriguez listened carefully, piecing together the story. It sounded like Tommy's mother had been pushing herself too hard, probably not eating or sleeping enough while caring for a sick baby. "I tried calling 911, But our phone got turned off last week because Mom couldn't pay the bill, Tommy continued. Our neighbor wasn't home and I didn't know what else to do. Lily was getting sicker and Mom wouldn't wake up no matter what I tried. So you decided to drive to get help, Rodriguez said. Tommy nodded. I remembered that the hospital was straight, down this road. Mom drove there once when I cut my hand last year. I thought if I could just get Lily to the doctors, they could help her. Rodriguez was amazed by the boy's thinking. Despite being only 11 years old and in a terrifying situation, Tommy had managed to come up with a plan and execute it. Sure, it was dangerous, but it might have saved his sister's life. How did you manage to drive without hitting anything? Rodriguez asked. It was really scary, Tommy admitted. My feet could barely reach the pedals and I couldn't see very well. Over the steering wheel, I went really slow and tried to stay in the right lane. A few times other cars honked at me, but I just kept going. Rodriguez shook his head in amazement. Tommy had driven nearly 10 miles on a busy highway at night while caring for a sick baby in the back seat. It was a miracle they'd made it, as far as they did without getting into an accident. As they pulled into the hospital parking lot, Rodriguez could see the paramedics rushing the baby through the emergency room doors. Tommy pressed his face against the window, watching his sister disappear into the building. She's going to be okay, isn't she? Tommy asked. The doctors here are really good, Rodriguez replied. They're going to do everything they can to help. Inside the hospital, everything moved quickly. Rodriguez stayed close to Tommy as they were led to a waiting area near the emergency room. The bright fluorescent lights and busy sounds of the hospital were overwhelming after the quiet darkness of the road. A nurse approached them with a clipboard and a kind smile. Are you Tommy? She asked. When the boy nodded, she continued. The doctors are taking excellent care of your sister right now. Can you answer some questions to help us treat her better? Tommy sat up straighter, ready to help however he could. Yes, ma'am. When did you first notice she was sick? The nurse asked. 3 days ago, she started crying more and felt hot. Yesterday was worse, and today she barely ate anything at all, Tommy replied. The same information he'd given the paramedic, but with more details this time. Has she been having wet diapers? The nurse continued. Tommy thought for a moment. Not many. I changed her a few times today, but they weren't very wet. Mom always said that was important to watch. Rodriguez was impressed by how much Tommy knew about caring for his baby sister. It was clear that his mother had taught him to be observant and responsible. Dr. Patterson, the emergency room physician, came out to speak with them about 30 minutes later. She was a tall woman with a reassuring presence who clearly had experience talking to worried family members. Tommy, your sister is very sick, but we caught it in time, she began. She has a serious infection and is severely dehydrated. We're giving her fluids through an IV and antibiotics to fight the infection. Is she going to be okay? Tommy asked, the question he'd been holding in his heart all evening. With proper treatment, yes, she should make a full recovery. But Tommy, if you hadn't brought her here tonight, this could have been much more serious. You absolutely did the right thing. Relief washed over Tommy's face, followed immediately by another worry. What about my mom? The officer said they found her at home. Dr. Patterson exchanged a look with Rodriguez. Your mother is being brought here by ambulance. From what the paramedics told us, she appears to be suffering from exhaustion and dehydration, too. She's been taking care of a sick baby while not taking care of herself. She's been working extra jobs, Tommy explained. She doesn't eat much because she wants to make sure Lily and I have enough food, and she's been up all night with Lily for 3 days. The picture was becoming clearer to everyone. Tommy's mother had been pushing herself beyond her limits, trying to care for her children while struggling financially. When the baby got sick, she'd sacrificed her own health to focus on Lily, until her body simply couldn't continue. Tommy, do you have any other family we can call? Rodriguez asked. Grandparents, aunts, uncles? Tommy shook his head sadly. It's just us. My dad left when Lily was born, and my mom's parents live far away. We don't really talk to them much. A social worker named Mrs. Kim arrived to speak with Tommy. She had a gentle manner and spoke to him like he was much older than his 11 years, which seemed to make Tommy feel more comfortable. Tommy, You've been incredibly brave and responsible. Tonight, she said, while your mom and sister are getting better, we need to make sure you're taken care of too. Do you have a place you'd feel safe staying for a few days? I want to stay here with Lily and Mom, Tommy replied immediately. I understand that, Mrs. Kim said. We'll arrange for you to visit them as much as possible, but you need rest and proper meals too. You've been taking care of everyone else, and now it's time for someone to take care of you. Rodriguez had been thinking about Tommy's situation throughout the evening. This wasn't a case of neglect or abuse. This was a family in crisis, where a single mother had been doing her best under difficult circumstances, and her young son had stepped up in an extraordinary way when everything fell apart. Mrs. Kim, Rodriguez said, I'd like to speak with my captain about this case. This boy is a hero, and I think there might be ways our department can help connect this family with resources they need. Tommy looked up at Rodriguez with surprise. You really think I'm a hero? I was so scared the whole time. I thought I was going to crash the car or get Lily hurt. Being scared doesn't make you less brave, Rodriguez explained. Being brave means doing the right thing even when you're terrified. You saved your sister's life tonight, Tommy. That makes you the bravest person I've met in a long time. Dr. Patterson returned with an update. Tommy, your sister's fever is coming down, and she's responding well to the treatment. Would you like to see her? Tommy's face lit up for the first time all evening. Really? Can I? Of course. She's sleeping now, but you can sit with her for a while. As they walked down the hallway toward the pediatric ward, Rodriguez marveled at the events of the evening. What had started as a routine traffic stop had turned into something he'd never forget. Tommy's courage and love for his family had impressed everyone who met him. The baby looked tiny in the hospital bed, with IVs in her small arms and monitors beeping softly around her. But her color was better, and her breathing seemed easier. Tommy carefully took her little hand in his. I'm sorry it took me so long to get help, Lily, he whispered, but the doctors are going to make you all better now. Rodriguez had to step out of the room for a moment. In all his years as a police officer, he'd seen the worst of human nature many times. But tonight, he'd witnessed something beautiful. The pure love of a child willing to do anything to protect his family. 2 hours later, another ambulance arrived with Tommy's mother. Tommy had been dozing in a chair next to his sister's bed when Rodriguez gently woke him with the news. She's here, Tommy. Your mom is here. They rushed down to the emergency room where Tommy's mother, Linda, was being examined. She was conscious, now but very weak. When she saw Tommy, tears immediately filled her eyes. Tommy, sweetheart, are you okay? Where's Lily? What happened? Linda's voice was hoarse and worried. Mom, I had to drive your car, Tommy said, taking her hand. You wouldn't wake up and Lily was so sick. I'm sorry I took the car without asking, but I didn't know what else to do. Linda's eyes went wide with shock and terror. You drove? Tommy, you could have been killed. You could have hurt someone. Ma'am, Rodriguez interjected gently. Your son saved his sister's life tonight. Yes, it was dangerous, but he made an impossible choice in an impossible situation. Both of your children are safe because of what Tommy did. Dr. Patterson joined them to explain Linda's condition. Mrs. Chen, you collapsed from a combination of dehydration, malnutrition, and exhaustion. Your body simply couldn't continue functioning. How long has it been since you've had a full meal or a full night's sleep? Linda looked embarrassed. I don't know. A few days, maybe longer. Lily has been so sick and I had to work extra shifts to pay for her medicine. I guess I wasn't taking very good care of myself. Mom, you always take care of us first, Tommy said. But you have to take care of yourself too. I was so scared when you wouldn't wake up. The social worker, Mrs. Kim, approached with some paperwork and a gentle expression. Mrs. Chen, I want you to know that there are no child welfare concerns here. It's clear that you love your children and have been doing your best under very difficult circumstances. However, we do need to talk about resources that might help your family. Linda nodded, still processing everything that had happened. I can't believe Tommy drove all that way. He's only 11 years old. He's also incredibly mature and responsible, Rodriguez added. He answered all our questions clearly, knew important details about Lily's condition, and made rational decisions under extreme pressure. Dr. Patterson had good news about both patients. Lily is responding very well to treatment. Her fever has broken and she's taking fluids normally. We'll keep her for another day or two to make sure the infection is completely gone, but she should make a full recovery. And you, Mrs. Chen, need at least 24 hours of rest and proper nutrition. We're going to keep you overnight for observation as well. Mrs. Kim had been making phone calls and came back with information about assistance programs. Mrs. Chen, there are several local organizations that can help with things like utility bills, food assistance, and temporary housing if needed. I've also been in touch with a local church group that specifically helps single mothers. I don't want charity, Linda said quietly. I've always tried to handle things on my own. It's not charity when you've been working 3 jobs to support your family, Rodriguez said. It's community support, and there's no shame in accepting help when you need it. Tommy looked back and forth between the adults. Mom, maybe we should listen to them. Tonight was really scary. I don't want anything like this to happen again. Linda squeezed her son's hand. You're right, sweetheart. I'm sorry you had to go through all of this. I'm sorry I put you in a position where you felt like you had no choice but to do something so dangerous. You didn't put me there, Mom. You've always taken good care of us. You just got sick too, and somebody had to help. Rodriguez had been thinking about the legal aspects of the situation. Technically, Tommy had driven without a license, which was against the law, but given the circumstances, Rodriguez knew that no prosecutor would pursue charges against an 11-year-old who was trying to save his sister's life. Mrs. Chen, Rodriguez said, I want you to know that there won't be any legal consequences from tonight. What Tommy did was technically against the law, but it was clearly a medical emergency. My report will reflect that this was a heroic act by a child trying to save his family. Dr. Patterson had one more piece of news. Mrs. Chen, based on Lily's condition when she arrived, I have to tell you that Tommy's decision probably saved her life. Another few hours without medical treatment and we might have been dealing with a much more serious situation. This information hit Linda hard. She pulled Tommy into a tight hug, tears streaming down her face. I can't believe my baby boy had to be so brave. I'm so proud of you, but I'm also so sorry you had to go through that. It's okay, Mom. Lily's going to be okay and you're going to be okay. That's all that matters. Rodriguez found himself getting emotional watching this reunion. In his years of police work, he'd seen many families torn apart by crisis, but this family's love for each other had held them together through an impossible situation. Mrs. Kim had more good news. Mrs. Chen, I spoke with your landlord about your rent situation. When I explained what happened, he agreed to give you a 2-week extension. And the church group I mentioned has offered to help with groceries and utility bills until you're back on your feet. Why would strangers want to help us? Linda asked. Because what happened tonight shows what kind of family you are, Rodriguez replied. You have a son who was willing to risk everything to save his sister. That speaks volumes about the values you've taught him. As the night went on, the hospital staff arranged for Tommy to stay in Linda's room so the family could be together. Rodriguez prepared to head home, but before leaving, he wanted to speak with Tommy one more time. Tommy, I want you to have my card, Rodriguez said, handing the boy his business card. If your family ever needs help with anything, you call me, okay? Yes, sir. Thank you for not arresting me. Rodriguez smiled. Thank you for reminding me why I became a police officer in the first place, to help people and protect families like yours. News of Tommy's heroic drive spread quickly through the small town. By the next morning, the hospital parking lot was filled with local news crews who had gotten word of the story. Rodriguez arrived early to help the family deal with the sudden attention. I don't want to be on TV, Tommy told Rodriguez nervously. I just want my sister to get better and for everything to go back to normal. I understand, son. We can keep the reporters away if that's what you and your mom want. But as the day went on, something unexpected began happening. People from all over town started showing up at the hospital, not with cameras or microphones, but with gifts, food, and offers to help. Mrs. Patterson from the grocery store arrived with several bags of baby formula and diapers. I heard about "What happened?" she said to Linda. "I have grandchildren of my own and I can't imagine how scared you must have been." Mr. Rodriguez, no relation to Officer Rodriguez, who owned the local auto repair shop, came by with an interesting offer. "Mrs. Chen, I heard your phone got disconnected. I've got an old phone you can have and I'll pay the first month's bill to get it reconnected. No family should be without a way to call for help." The pastor from Community Baptist Church arrived with his wife and several church members. "We don't want to intrude," Pastor Williams said, "but our congregation has been moved by Tommy's story. We've taken up a collection to help with medical bills and whatever else your family needs." Linda was overwhelmed by the kindness. "I don't understand why everyone wants to help us. We're just regular people." "That's exactly why," explained Officer Rodriguez. "People see a family that's been struggling but still filled with love. They see a boy who risked everything for his sister. It reminds everyone of what's really important in life." Dr. Patterson had excellent news about Lily. "She's ready to go home tomorrow. Her infection has cleared up completely and she's eating normally again. Just make sure she gets plenty of fluids and rest." Tommy had been quiet during all the visits from strangers. Rodriguez noticed and asked if he was feeling okay. "I'm happy that Lily's better," Tommy said. "But I keep thinking about what could have happened. What if I had crashed the car? What if I had hurt somebody else on the road?" Rodriguez sat down next to Tommy. "Those are good questions and they show that you understand how serious the situation was. But you know what? You didn't crash. You didn't hurt anyone. You made the best decision you could with the information you had. But I was scared the whole time. Being scared was smart. It kept you careful and focused. If you hadn't been scared, you might have been reckless." Mrs. Kim returned with news about longer-term assistance for the family. "Mrs. Chen, I've been working with several local organizations. The county has approved you for temporary assistance with rent and utilities. There's also a job training program that offers childcare while you're in classes, which could lead to better paying work." "What kind of training?" Linda asked. "Medical assistant, computer skills, even nursing if you're interested. These are jobs with good benefits and regular hours, so you wouldn't have to work 3 different jobs anymore." Tommy's eyes lit up. "Mom, you always said you wanted to be a nurse when you were younger." Linda smiled at her son. "I did say that, didn't I? Maybe it's not too late to try again." The local newspaper wanted to write a story about Tommy's heroic act, but they agreed to focus on the community response rather than putting pressure on the family. The headline read, "Community Rallies Around Local Family After Boy's Brave Act." Officer Rodriguez's captain visited the hospital to meet Tommy personally. Captain Morrison was a stern man who rarely showed emotion, but even he seemed moved by the story. "Son, in 30 years of police work, I've never encountered anything quite like what you did," he told Tommy. "Our department would like to present you with a certificate of appreciation for your courage and quick thinking." "Am I in trouble for driving without a license?" Tommy asked. Captain Morrison smiled. "Not even a little bit. Sometimes braking. A small rule is the right thing to do when you're trying to follow a bigger rule, protecting your family." As evening approached on the second day, the family was preparing to go home. Lily was healthy and happy. Linda was feeling stronger, and Tommy was starting to process everything that had happened. Mrs. Kim had one final surprise. "Mrs. Chen, the community response has been so strong that we've received enough donations to cover your rent for the next 6 months. This should give you time to complete job training and get back on your feet." Linda started crying again, but these were tears of relief and gratitude. "I don't know how to thank everyone. Thank them by taking care of your family and accepting that sometimes good people want to help other good people," Rodriguez suggested. As they prepared to leave the hospital, Tommy asked Rodriguez one more question. "Officer Rodriguez, do you think I'll ever have to do something like that again?" "I hope not, son. But if you ever face another impossible situation, I have complete confidence that you'll make the right choice. You've already proven that you have good judgment and a brave heart." The family's story became a symbol of hope in their community. Tommy returned to school the following week to find that his classmates looked at him differently. Not as a troublemaker who had broken the law, but as someone who had done something extraordinary to protect his family. 6 months later, Linda graduated from the medical assistant program and found a job at the same hospital where Lily had been treated. Tommy continued to be a responsible, big brother, but now he had backup plans and support systems in place. The family had learned that accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness, but a way for communities to take care of each other. Officer Rodriguez often drove by their neighborhood during his patrols, always slowing down to wave if he saw Tommy playing in the yard. The traffic stop that had started as a routine night had become one of the most meaningful experiences of his career, reminding him that sometimes the most ordinary moments can reveal the most extraordinary people.